Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stan and Sue's Senior Camping. We do have a lot of fun with this. And I find because I'm younger, I suppose, 71 this August, it's up to me to set things up. And I do like to try to make things cozy for us. So I'm asking Stan if he could take on the task of videotaping, something he can learn to do, keeping the angle of the camera and so forth. Besides that, this cozy cove, Napier Cove, is a lot easier to set up even on your own. No, I don't want to say it's a lot easier than having help, but it is easy nonetheless. And I do like to do it. I like to set it up a certain way and make sure that it works. So we do that, or at least I did that, in very short order. And then I put out the mat, set up the chairs, get out our lunch, and we get involved in some interesting conversations sometimes. And we had one of those serious, interesting conversations that Stanley started about relationship. So you might want to stay tuned and listen. You might learn something. Comments from 71-year-old and 82-year-old. Reflections on relationship. We had a very nice, quiet camping spot until later on in the afternoon. We got some neighbors, and it's funny, they had a spot right across the road from us, but they didn't mind coming in right up by our car and playing a ball game and saying hello or whatever. They were very friendly people, but we were actually just quiet, trying to have some quiet time and relax. Unfortunately, all of that happened in the afternoon after our lunch and our great conversation that Stanley and I shared together. So the park actually, because of the heat and the weekend, the park filled to capacity. And that's what's been happening this summer. So many people have been grabbing up the camping grounds and getting out there. What sort of frustrates me in a way is that when you look online and you see that there's nothing available, then you drive through the campsite and you see all these vacant spots. What's happening is people are booking them up, whether they want them or not, whether they think they're going to use them or not, so that they, just in case they decide to go out, they've got their spot booked. So that can be rather expensive, I imagine, but there are people with expensive vehicles showing up, like Audis and so forth, and they are not afraid to book a site for the summer or for several weeks. You can actually book some of these sites up to a month without penalty or without, encroaching on any type of rules. I kind of think that's unfair in a way, because it means that somebody like Stanley and I, we want to do a few nights camping, there's nothing available. So we got a one-nighter. We have another one-nighter coming up. I just think you should share the spots, share the wealth. Or if you're going to book them up and save them like that, at least advertise and say, hey, we've got a site booked, do you want it? Or tell the people that run the park, look, we're not coming in for a week, so the site is available after that time. I don't know, there must be rules about this whole thing. I know that the park rules say you can book up to 5 months ahead for various sites. But honestly, if you've changed your mind and you forfeit your fee and you're not going to be there, you should call the park people and tell them, so that it becomes available again, so other people like us can actually get in there and use the site. In Ontario, a conservation park, you can stay up to 23 days. In a provincial park, it's 7 to 14 days during peak season, and then they extend that beyond to a month if you want during the winter and colder months.
That's mine.
Mission accomplished.
That's mine. I put that in for me. Where are the others?
I'm thinking, he's so possessive. I did all this work. My goal is to sit down and enjoy a drink. So I take his drink anyways. There are others. It's just in a different case, that's all. One day, yes, maybe.
More than likely. Goodbye, Stanley.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I guess every spouse has thought about the fact that, especially as you age, that your partner is gonna not be there one day. But you try not to think too much about that because, you know, you're here now. We're here now.
So let's enjoy it now.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I was thinking this morning that how often does the Lord put a couple together like Isaac and Rebecca,
Right?
and the servant would out to just get a wife for Abraham's son Isaac.
And he was a pretty smart guy. He knew where the women were that would come out and get water at the well.
Yeah.
And water camels.
And the girl was all ready to.
She was ready for a change.
Well, this is her first husband.
Yeah, but when she's at the well coming out, and she doesn't know what's going to happen on that day, she was ready for a change.
Well, probably getting water for Dad's sheep, I suppose.
I'll give you water, and I'll even water your camels. So she went above and beyond, and that impressed Abraham's servant.
Rachel is a woman. It's not Rachel. Rebecca. Rebecca's a woman, you don't hear much about her, but she had a wonderful character. She didn't know where she was going back with this man to be a wife to Isaac. She didn't know.
She checked it out with her dad first, though.
Well, probably.
The servant, she took him to her home and talked to her dad.
As soon as she arrived. Oh, yeah, you mean overnight he stayed and stuff?
Yeah. And she was willing to go.
So here's my question. How much does God often put two people together that are really meant for each other? And like she was willing to go back with Abraham's servant, even though she didn't really know much except maybe talking to her dad. And when she came, when it finally arrived where Isaac lived with his dad was still, they were big tents together. I don't know if they're in the same tent, but they had a tent community.
And Isaac saw her. He must have been, love at first sight.
It says when he saw her, he
felt comforted for the first time since his mother had passed away.
He took her into his tent, and it says the Bible just says very, very brief, and he loved her.
Yeah.
Brought her into his tent, and he loved her.
And she was always his favorite. Yeah.
It was his wife.
Rebecca was always his favorite.
So I'm wondering, how often does God really give direction for things like this to happen? And some people really receive it well and others don't. Or if it's from the Lord, it always works.
And then there's people that wish that something like that could happen. We had that happen.
I think we were very fortunate that we could dovetail together.
God spoke to our hearts, and we heard him, and we knew this was right. For me, it was within 2 weeks. So out of character for me.
Do you think your character's still the same?
Do I think?
Your character is still the same?
Pretty much. As I've aged, I know I get more frustrated easily. I have heat-ups and, physical things that bother me, and that makes me, you keep saying I'm so patient. I am in some areas, many areas actually.
Others you're not.
Oh, sometimes I can be all by myself and have moments of frustration and stuff. So every once in a while, when that happens, I think, I didn't know this was going to happen as I aged. But it does, and I keep trying to work on it. What about you? Do you think your character is basically the same? Is that your perception of yourself?
I think so.
I think so too. And I think based on, studies that came out of the University of Pennsylvania, where it talks about our character being basically 80% of who we are, that means that we have a core character. It's really not going to change much. It's going to fluctuate due to circumstances, but who we are is who we are. And like you said, in our wedding vows, it didn't take me long to realize about my character, you said.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think I sense the same thing.
So I think certain things struck me about things that what you would say. You said about me, you wanted to make sure he was listened to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Do you think I still do that?
Yes, of course.
Do you think you still do those things?
Of course.
Didn't change.
It's a consistency in character. I remember praying after we first met and saying to God, if he hears you like I hear you, and which you do, truck going by. And the other thing, I remember one morning waking up and saying, God, if our relationship, meaning me and God, my relationship with God, if that's going to change, I don't want this.
I understand that as a Christian.
Yeah, but it didn't. It just was enhanced. That's all.
The more you stepped forward, the more God enhanced it.
Yeah. And so completely out of character for me, within 2 weeks, I knew you were the guy for me.
See, some of the things I wrestle with, and I don't talk about them, is sometimes there's a particular thought I had. I think I've lost it, but let me see if I can retrieve it again. Is it the same way do we embrace the fact that God could put someone together for life? And God is joined together, let nobody put asunder.
Yeah, nobody should separate them.
Pardon?
No one should separate them. I mean, God put it together. It's almost like God created the puzzle and he put all the pieces together. Why should somebody come along and start taking apart the pieces?
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes I wonder in my weaker moments of it isn't always like that. Something can come in and just exit. And then I realize that whom God has joined together, let nobody put asunder.
So I think if you realize and recognize from the very beginning, number one, that God brought us together, okay, that's one thing. And number two, me, my character, your character, we're not about to change.
No.
We're both very steady, committed, faithful, honoring, kind, just people. people.
We are. It's true.
Those are part of the core elements of our character.
I would no more change my thoughts about you or abandon you. I would no more do that and jump off the CN Tower. Because none of it makes any sense. Once you know that the Lord has stamped his approval on something.
And here's a good bottom line. I like you. And I know you like me. And then encapsulated in that is the love.
See, sometimes when you get a little bit mad,
Yeah.
then it gives me a jolt. But I don't always talk about it, but sometimes it bothers me. Like last night, I said, is there anything wrong between us? And you said, oh, we're going to go through this again. I said, no. You don't have to go through it, just say yes or no. And she said, no. There's no difference between us. But nobody would really know that, I don't think, but that goes on. That's my, what would you call it?
I think, from a counseling point of view, it's part of the residual effects from your previous marriage, where she left you twice under different circumstances each time. And as I said, that a lot of people when they're younger, they really need to take time to reflect and work through these things, but they don't, because life is going on, circumstances are happening, things are always pulling at them, and so they're busy. But then later in life, when you get time to slow down a little bit, you start reflecting on this stuff, or it comes to you, and that's when you have to figure it out. You have to work on it. So you have to come to that place that, first of all, I'm not like her, completely different character, and so it's not going to happen. And so you learn to
Trust.
You learn to apply the truth to your current circumstances and reassure yourself and make short accounts with
A little insert here because my phone cut out. The power ended, but you make short accounts with the past. It's interesting that there are provincial parks, there are state parks in the U.S., and then we have conservation parks. At least in Canada, we have conservation parks. And they're separate from the provincial government. And this is a conservation park. It's a very lovely one, too. I like the day use side more than the camping side. We did take a walk into the camping area to scout out some campsites that when you're looking at them online, and even seen some of the pictures that the online site provides, it's always different when you're actually at the campsites. For example, some of them that we looked at looked too small. The ground in this conservation park is very, very uneven, and so some of the campsites have these platforms where they've evened out the ground, and that's where you can put your tent on. So we looked out some of those, and I have a couple that I've got in mind that we sort of figured out how we could drive into, because there's so many trees, that we could actually insert our car in there and then maybe put up our campsite. So they are sites that we're considering for the future. In the meantime, on the day use side, they have a splash park. Now, the biggest attraction is the gorge, the Grand River that runs through the park. And you can go tubing on that. Stanley and I have done that in the past. I don't think we're about to attempt it anymore at our age because, well, the first time we did tubing, we were overturned in the water right away. This was about 5 years ago at least. And the water can be pretty rocky, so you're hitting your bottom on these rocks. So there's a couple things there. You don't want to be tumbling over, hitting rocks, and they make you wear life jackets and helmets and everything to protect yourself. But you know what? We've done the tubing, so now we're just here to enjoy some of the trails that the park provides. But all in all, you could go here and have a great day adventure. and not necessarily have to sleep over. Sometimes Stanley says he likes that better. He likes to just go for the day, have our lunch, have our dinner, go home in our own bed. The comforts of home. But still, it's a great place to visit, Elora Gorge Conservation Park.
Where do you want me to be, on that first level?
Before leaving the conservation area, there were 2 sites I wanted to look at because I'd looked at them online, but just wasn't sure about booking either one. So we thought we would actually go see them in person. How would it be getting our car in? Would be able to get through the trees? How big is the platform? Is it practical? And this is one of the sites where we thought we could drive in that area and park right beside the the platform, and that might be usable. And then I looked at the site across, right beside it actually. So this was site 48. And Stanley did try it, and it's possible. You just have to watch all the trees. I'm also thinking, how do you back into a site when you've got all your gear up to the ceiling and you really don't have that, back through the back view? Does that make sense? Like, I think you would have to empty out all of your gear in order to back your vehicle in. Now this is site 49. And you could actually just sort of back slowly up to the platform. And then if we used our Napier tent, it would go on the platform. And then there's a big space in behind there that's quite usable. So I'm thinking that one might work for us. But there's a bit of a hill and an incline. So I'm not sure about that, because it would put the car at a certain position and angle in proportion to the tent. So another idea we've had is putting up our pop-up tent on the platform and then using the back of the vehicle for the cove and our kitchen area. Definitely lots to think about if you get a chance to go to the campsites and view them before you actually commit to something. I think it's always an advantage. So thanks for watching. Cheers.